welcome. Today you're here with Sandra Jordan. I am the Yacht Crew Coach. I'm also known as the Yacht Purser. I run a successful purser course. And with me I have Pauline de Kock. She is the interior manager on a 93-meter yacht. So Pauline's going to be enlightening us on some of the things that she looks for when hiring stewards or stewardesses on board, and trying to give you a few tips to show, what are the things that you should highlight on your CV, or perhaps some personal qualities that, big boats look for. So, Pauline, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Think everyone's got some extra time on their hands at the moment.
Yeah, so Pauline is currently off the boat in self-isolation. Pauline, I've worked with Pauline before, so we were having a conversation and she agreed to just help out and give a few tips. So one of the things that I think crew are wondering is what do you look for when you get a whole bunch of CVs in front of you? What specifically are you looking for? Do you look at longevity? Are you looking at the names of the boats, like what kind of boats the person has been on? So for example, I know Lursen, Bedship, those are some really well-known boats. So does the kind of branding of the boat matter? What happens if they have more leadership experience in a smaller role? Are there certain things that you look for in a CV or in a person? I mean, obviously it depends on which role you're looking for. Second stew would be different to laundry stew, but across the board, do you have some kind of criteria or qualifications that that would help somebody get to the next phase?
No, I do. We're just looking for a chief stew, so it's actually quite a good example of, because like you said, we're 93 meters, so we were looking for. We didn't. I guess at the time we didn't have a rotational role, but now it's changed to rotation. So we're obviously looking for different things at the moment, but it changed. So when we were looking for it, we were looking for someone in a leadership role on smaller boats with longevity. Longevity for us is the biggest thing, because the owners, all owners that I've worked for, longevity is a really important factor. So any CV that I look for or look at, that's the first thing that I look at. Obviously, the first thing is like the literal CV, the pictures. Like I've seen some horrific pictures of chief stews. And I can't even believe that they've put those pictures on, like selfies and like crazy hair and like not looking professional at all. And that for a chief stew, to me, I was really shocked at certain CVs that I've received. And then just the format, like you've redone my CV and like I got the job straight away basically. So I look at CVs that the format, to me, I look at like picture and format, and if the CV's not laid out correctly, and I see one that is laid out correctly, I'd pick that one up straight away. But then obviously go straight to longevity, see how many boats people have been on. If there's like a long list over 3 years, you don't really naturally go towards that person. But if they've been over 3-4 years and you've been on 1 or 2 boats, then you're obviously naturally going to tend to want to talk to that person too. And I mean, you've been on busy boats. Interview process takes a long time, and you don't really want to waste your time calling someone just for the sake of calling someone. So you're going to always call the person that's got longevity or with the format layout and that looks more professional, above someone that's kind of hopped around a bit more.
Okay, no, that's very insightful. I know longevity, when I did a survey at the beginning of last year, so that would have been the beginning of 2019, most of the captains and heads of department indicated that was something, to them that was really important. I do feel that crew getting into the industry now don't really understand the ins and outs of yachting. I've actually recently seen an Instagram profile where it's a stewardess complaining about how she feels like her, she obviously chief stewardess or people in a senior position, talk to her like she's never had a job before. And I think one of the big things for me is mindset and being able to change the way that you look at a position. So I do think crew are very quick to complain about, oh, on my last boat we did it like this. Oh, on my last boat we did it like this. But
Definitely.
even just talking about the lockdown, just to try and change your mindset for me is a big thing. Instead of saying I'm stuck at home, I'm safe at home.
Exactly.
So I think perhaps with people who have longevity, do you think that even that, look, no boat's perfect, and I do know that some people get on those good boats and they stay, and then that's great, but there are a lot of really, really bad boats out there. So
definitely.
it comes back to the situation that should you be just jumping on any old boat just to get something on your CV, or should you really be also doing your due diligence when looking for a job? I in the Purser course that I run, I have some interview questions that you need to be asking the boat. So do you think it's a case that people aren't doing their due diligence when they're doing research, asking their friends, do they know somebody who's working on this boat? What is the captain like? Perhaps that's maybe something that people are jumping on boats where their values don't align with each other. And it's
I agree. I mean, there's so many boats out there that I think you and I have both taken time when every boat that we've chosen, so that we can have longevity. You don't want to just jump on a boat. Like, I've had offers where like the package sounds amazing and this, that, and the other, and interviews were okay, and you're just like, what's the catch? And obviously there'd be crazy parties, or there'd be this or that, or things that you don't really want to experience on boats. But then that's why people are jumping around. So I agree that you really do have to do your research, like research the boat, research the owners, see if they charter, speak to anyone that you network to, or someone knows someone, so that you can really know the reputation of the boat, because that again is going to be the factor of whether you're going to stay on it for a long time or not. So it's definitely the crew members' responsibility to do their research before they get on any boat. And whether you even want to list that boat if you've only been up for a couple of months, like you can rather just say, if you're in your interview process, just say, I know there's a blank space, but I got onto this boat and decided it's not the right fit for me because of X, Y, and Z. And I decided not to list it, just so it doesn't show anything on my resume. So I'd rather think, like, when you're interviewing someone, rather fill them in on that, than they have them question why you were on that boat for such a short time.
That actually leads to a very, very important thing about your CV, is that, well, two things. The first is that you don't want to ever lie on your CV, but I do agree there have been times where I have left a boat off because it has been a short stint, and again, like, I would rather explain in person and say, hey, yes, there is perhaps a blank space, but I know captains are very reluctant to actually, if there is a blank space, to call that person back and get them into the interview phase. So it's kind of a catch-22. So, and again, like, I've had a bad run. I've had a really bad run of boats where, when I was, I'm trying to think of the year, probably about 7 years ago, where I didn't have the skills. I didn't know, yachting when I started was very unregulated. And, it wasn't in the time of Instagram and Facebook. Yes, Facebook was around, but I had no personal leadership skills. I didn't know what I needed to be asking in interviews, and I think that's a big thing. Like, now I do. Now it's I have a whole long list of questions that I go through with my pursers in my course, just for them to be able to understand what it is that they need to be focusing on and asking. So do you have a specific, like, what are the things that would be red flags for you? So if you were being interviewed and then you obviously ask the captain or the owner or whoever it is, the family, offers a few questions, like, what for you would be red flags that would make you go, okay, probably not gonna accept this position? Or
red flags are probably, like, to me, a sign is always if there's a lot of crew that have been on for a long time. But if they're like, oh no, well, 10 crew have just left, or the whole interior team just left, like, obviously that, if there's a big crew changeover, obviously something has happened that's made everyone leave. So that's the number one thing I always ask about the crew, and why is the position being looked, like, why is it being filled? Because they have to give you the reason, and they go, oh no, well, this person left, or this, like, and the way they explain it, you're always going to know if they're telling the truth or lying, and if you want to be there. Because sometimes captains can just, like, they're really good at covering up things and making you see the bigger picture. But I think it's, again, just reading people, and that's why we are in the positions that we have got into, is because we've been able to read people. But to me, it's, and I guess just that, to me, the nationalities of the owners as well, like, that's an important thing to me, because certain nationalities I probably would not work for, but like the boat that you and I worked on together, it's normally not a boat that or nationality that I'd work with, but they told us that it would be a really good family, and they ended up being amazing. So you kind of have to take.
We're amazing. No,
Exactly. So
and it's interesting because I have worked with also all different nationalities across my yachting career, and it's funny, I've had American owners who I've really loved, and I've had American owners who I've just really not enjoyed as much.
Exactly.
But it's for me that then it came down to, the states, like which state in the US, because it's a big place.
I agree.
And which state are they from? So, I mean, if you could tell me that I had like Texan charter clients coming on board, that for me was always like, yes, I know this is going to be a great charter.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. There's probably going to be line dancing.
Exactly.
And so, because yachting kind of goes hand in hand a lot of the time with partying and with going out and you drop off day, you think, oh, crew gonna let off some steam, how do you think that also affects the dynamics on board? Do you think that you'd prefer to join a boat? I mean, I know you're super fit and healthy, so and enjoy working out and exercising. Do you think that has an impact on the kinds of boats that you would want to join, or that just knowing that
Definitely.
the crew together?
Like, that is one of my questions that I do, like, that I ask people when I'm being interviewed for a position, or that I ask when I'm interviewing someone, because like, if they enjoy, like you said, I enjoy exercising, and a lot of the crew that I currently work with, and they also enjoy exercising. Like, we have a crew gym on board too, so it is a really big thing for most people to kind of de-stress, just kind of like have your own time. And when you have time off, you can go for a surf or go for a hike or do something before you go for a drink. Like, you're always going to go for a drink, but you just always do something a bit like active or productive before you actually do that. So that's a really important thing for me, because I'm like that, and and if someone's like, oh, well, the crew like going out together, that's not really one of the things that I'm like, oh, great, let me get on that boat, because then they're really not going to be exercising, and you're going to be the one hiking by yourself or going to the gym by yourself, which is, again, I've been on a boat like that and it's fine, but you really don't feel very included when they're like always going out, and you really don't want to be doing that every day.
I think so as part of the course we do personality profiling, and it's always interesting. I used to do it on board too when I was a chief stew. Being a purser, you're a department of one, so it's kind of like if you hear me talking to myself, we're having a department meeting. But for me, I have a very I'm not going to say abrasive personality, but I'm much more, my energy is a lot more masculine, and so obviously being a woman in a leadership role, you can rub people up the wrong way, and especially a lot of women have more feeling profiles as opposed to thinking profiles. I'm a thinking profile, which just means that the way in which they express their emotions is a lot different. It's not to say that I don't have emotions. I do.
Yeah. I've seen
I definitely cry. You might just not see me cry as often as other people, but I certainly do feel things very deeply. But the point is that at the end of the day, I'm not somebody who really needs like appreciation or thank yous and that. And just understanding your own personality profile and how you need to receive feedback and how you need to give feedback to other people is a really important thing. So, part of having longevity on board and cultivating a culture of just inclusivity and being able to lead your own team and create happiness on board. I think that is a very, very important thing. So I think in terms of chief stews and department heads right now, one of my big pieces of advice would be to try and do some leadership courses. There are some fantastic ones online. And you can even watch YouTube videos for free. Again, just about communication and team building and things like that. So I don't know. Do you have any tips for trying to cultivate more of an inclusive and just a happy atmosphere on board?
We realized this recent boat that I'm on, like it started off with the bang. So we were all just like thrown in the deep end and it was just crazy. And we really tried we're an interior team of now we're 12. And we really tried at the end of each day to kind of just have like everyone just give one thing that they're grateful for. Just like gratitude, which is like becoming a big thing in everywhere. Just so that they can really just like, even if we're just like, oh, we're grateful for this, that, the other, like grateful, like gratitude is really can be something super simple or just could be anything. So we can just like, depending on the work that we did that day, you can kind of, everyone just kind of is grateful for each other and like the things that you do. And some people might have bad days and that person's grateful for everyone's support. And that kind of just made everyone unify a bit more. Because we were going through difficult times and it's been a year now and we still try and do that every day, even if it's on charter or with the boss, and we've got our interior group and we kind of do like a daily gratitude at the end of the day. So we just try and just kind of get like, just so that there's some positivity every day, and we kind of really just try and, because we've been so busy that we haven't really had time to do anything. And when we do have any kind of free time, we try and obviously do some kind of team building together. And we do have that moment that we can get off the boat, or like we've done a lot of crossings. So we have like girl spa days and we do little things like that. So we can just kind of get together and spend proper time together without working.
Right. Okay, no, that's very important. I was actually just thinking the other day, I'm not religious, but one of the things that I feel really strongly about is doing a gratitude practice. And one of the things that I would like to do with my son is, you just at the end of every day, people used to sit down, by their bed and just say thank you, and like I do feel quite strongly about that too. It is a mindset thing, and just changing your own mindset again makes you feel also just a little bit more different about a situation. So maybe maybe the boat is really tough, like you said. Maybe you have it's constantly busy. Maybe you are exhausted. Maybe you are tired. And if you don't have those things to help you shift how you feel about something or a situation or a position, it can make coping with that stress. Because look, at the end of the day, when you're tired, you're stressed, you become less resistant to stress. And that starts to show in various different ways. So again, like I was always very much for people communicating and saying, right, today I'm actually not doing okay and I'm having a bad day, and it's not you, it's me, but just let the team know that's going on, and it's okay. I think this whole kind of toxic positivity can also make people who are not perhaps in this, like they're not ready to shift to like a daily gratitude practice yet. It can make them feel a little bit disconnected too. So I'm whilst daily gratitude practice is an amazing thing for most people, it isn't for everybody, and so that is also just something to be aware of. But like it doesn't mean that they can't it doesn't mean that there's not other things that they can do to try and shift their mindset, or just for other people to be a little bit more empathetic towards what they are going through. So yeah, I wanted to quickly get back to the CV stuff, because you were saying, you were talking about some really interesting things about photos. Just in the survey that I did last year, the photo came up as being the number one thing that made captains or heads of department call somebody to actually move to the next stage, to an interview. So I actually filmed like a little video to help just any crew member, new crew, existing crew, to understand how to take a photo for your CV, and just some do's and don'ts about that photo.
Yes.
So yeah, I can also try and find that link and put that link too. But
definitely, it's like because yachting's the only industry that in every other job, like there's no CV unless you're I have no picture unless you're like a model. Like yachting's the only industry that you have a picture, and for us, like looks are the most important thing. Like yachting is a super superficial industry, and you're being hired for your looks. So unfortunately, like the picture is really important. So you have to have a really good one.
Like, I want to reiterate though, it's not about being, it's not about being a supermodel.
No.
It's about being polished. So it's about, I always say, like, make sure. So, if you are on service, your hair should be tied back. Nobody wants to get a strand of hair in their food.
I agree.
And if your hair is tied back, I was on a very, very hectic boat. My last boat as a chief stew, and the owner literally, like, if we had one wispy strand of hair, it didn't matter that it was blowing like 24 knots outside and you're doing dinner service on the sun deck. Didn't matter how much hairspray you put on and how many clips you put in your hair. If you just had one hair out of place, she would literally go like this. And then that would be your cue to, you've got one hair out of place, you best go and fix that. So when we had mirrors in the pantry, we had like, full hairspray, we had to even wear like a very light nail polish, all of us. And we had boat-specific lip gloss that we all had to wear. So again, it was about, so for me, it's more about being polished and than about, having perfect looks or something. So that is something that's very easy for crew. If you are wanting to stand out, or just to make sure that your CV doesn't go to the bottom of the pile, is to make sure that you've got just a good photo on there. I
just a professional polished picture. Like that's all you need. Like like you said, you don't have to be a supermodel. It's just has to look professional. Like people, like honestly, Sandra, I've had, when I was on board now, like with chief stew pictures, like taking selfies for their pictures, like it's really not, like you can take like everything, you've got auto timer on your phones, just put it away and step away. Like it's really not that difficult.
Yeah. And I think also the duck pout, the
that's not
and I think what people what especially women, what they fail to realize is that very often it's other women who are looking at their photo first. So it's not just like it's going straight to the captain, okay? And it would be interesting to get because I know before I also have had chief stew friends say the photos need to not be with the duck face, and then also professional. But I've got some interviews with captains. I'm interested to see their view on the pout and the selfie.
Definitely.
So that's a very, very easy thing to fix.
Definitely.
All right, and in terms of like layout and structure as well, I mean, for me, the biggest thing is seeing spelling mistakes and grammar and
punctuation. Oh, definitely.
Because again,
sorry, go ahead.
No, if you say that you have attention to detail, and yet your CV has got spelling mistakes all over it, or grammar issues,
it drives me crazy, because that's your first impression. Like your CV is the first impression to anyone on the boat. So if there's like, and you have like, surely you should have gone over it at least 10 times before you send it to anyone.
Yeah.
And then and then you get someone to proofread it before you send it on. Like, that's how much detail you have to, or like, that's how thoroughly you have to go through anything.
Yeah.
Because again, that's your first impression that anyone, and once, if I see stuff like spelling mistakes or see a layout, like a format that is just like literally thrown together, like, I might look at the experience, but, and then like I give everyone a chance, but it's really like, if there's someone that has a good picture and a good format, like I'd 100% call them over someone with some like a bad format.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you know, I almost feel like it's insulting that
Yes,
you
I
don't even
agree.
care, like you don't even care enough about your own job to make sure you have a decent CV. And the thing is that there are so many people these days who do, you know, who will do your CV for you. I'm one of them. I'm
Exactly.
unfortunately, yeah, like I'm unfortunately too busy at the moment to take on new clients. But I do, you know, I am recommended by one of the leading um, crew recruitment companies. They send me a lot of their captains who, you know, because again, it's a skill. Being able to write a CV and edit it and format it and make it look good, it's definitely a skill. And if you don't have that skill, then you do need to outsource it to somebody else. You know, and you know, there's various different options that you can take. You know, some people just focus really on the layout, and that's also okay. You know, for me, I focus on a full rewrite as well. Like I don't just focus on making the structure look nice and the headings and the fonts and all of that. But I focus on the wording and the language and the, you know, kind of verbs that you're using. You know, and I try and delete all the things that are like, you know, my top tips is, or, you know, for CVs and the information that you're putting in there is that, well, if you're a chief stew and you've been a chief stew for a long time, the fact that you have been out provisioning, I'm like, well done.
It's a given.
Yeah, I'm like, you went to the supermarket, you put a bunch of stuff in a shopping basket or in a trolley or whatever, and you paid for it, and you brought it, like, well done. You know, like, no,
You uploaded it. Yeah.
nobody needs to know. Nobody needs to know that. Like, yes, you're a chief stew, you've done provisioning, cool, okay. However, I do say though, if you are on a world traveling yacht and you've had to provision in some super tricky circumstances, so you know. We've been in some really, really tricky,
like we did, yes,
tricky places.
like Madagascar,
Yeah,
Antarctica.
exactly. Okay, so you know, if you have been in some very tricky places that, you know, makes provisioning really difficult, and you've had to think ahead and really, you know, try and minimize shipping costs for your provisions, because, you know, and at some point we needed to ship food in, because you couldn't just in Antarctica go to the supermarket and buy a loaf of bread, 2 dozen eggs, a pint of milk, and walk away. So it was tricky challenge provisioning there. Then yes, put that down, okay. But if you're just in Fort Lauderdale or in Antibes or Monaco or wherever it is, Barcelona, like, no, provisioning is really super easy there. So yeah, please don't put it on your CV.
I agree. It's like it's the things that are going to make you stand out more than anything. Like you said, provisioning in a normal place, like a normal yacht location, is really not gonna put you apart from anyone else.
And you know, for me, some of the things that I really would like to know, for especially if I'm hiring a second stew or somebody who is more in a leadership position, like I want to know what are the things that they have done to improve themselves, you know, how, like besides doing courses or whatever. You know, I had a situation where I needed to hire a second stewardess, and the stews on board were like, oh, well, pick me, and I'm like, okay, well, you guys will finish work at 5 p.m. I finish work at 10 because there's like so much to do. Not one of you is offered to come and help me or to sit with me and take, you know, say, hey, what can I learn? Can I learn something here? You know, if you want to finish work at 5 p.m., that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But when a second stewardess position becomes available, I'm probably not going to look at you. Okay, so you know, for me, it's really, you know, if you're looking at the fact that your job, like being there, is a privilege, and what can you do to make your head of department's life easier? I mean, I'm not saying be a suck up or be you know, an ass kisser or something like that. That's not what it is. It's just about, hey, you're working really late. I would like to learn. I would like to, you know, I would like to be, also about, looking up to somebody and having them as a mentor. I know
Exactly.
when you were
Like
on,
that's what I did with you.
yes,
Exactly. We were like work over weekends because you like didn't have weekends. So I'd sit with you, and instead of
yeah,
going swimming or going to the beach, like I sat with you and learned everything. Or like when we went into court, I got up early with you to do court clearance. Like
exactly,
it's small things like that that you really are like, even just like simple things like, because there's some people that are complete clock watchers, and when you are, like you said, looking for someone to step up, and you're going to think of the person that's not complaining that they didn't get a break, not complaining that they had to work extra hours, or like if there's an event or something,
yeah,
and people that aren't like, everyone's tired, like you don't have to talk about it every day. You're going to look at the person that wants to like, is really like, if there's chaos and they just like, and you tell them to go to bed and they go, well, please can I stay, I really want to help out. Or
yeah,
the person that's just going to go, okay, well, I'll see you in 11 hours. Like it's
yeah.
really not,
Wow, 11
you're really
hours
going
is
to
a
look at the
really
person.
long time.
I know. But you know what I mean. So it's just one of those things that
Yeah,
like the want and the to
yeah,
do the extra thing, to put them, to set them aside from someone else instead of doing the bare minimum, really.
exactly. And again, that is what heads of department and captains want to see on a CV. Is like when they're reading it, they want to know when they interview you, they want to know that when you come on board, that you're going to make their life just a little bit easier. So you don't want to hire somebody who's just going to back chat you all day and say, oh well, why can't we do things this way, or why can't we do things this way? Yes, there's a time and a place for brainstorming ways to improve efficiency or to do things a little bit better. Yes, cool. Maybe that's something that you do need to have, if you are head of department, to have feedback. Have feedback meetings where you get everybody's input. Hey, how long did this take you? Did it take you this amount of time, just so that I know when I'm scheduling that maybe I need, did I schedule enough time for that? And is this realistic? How would you do it differently? So yeah, I mean, as head of department, I would also be using the time to maybe figure out like, where are the things that you can improve, and even just in terms of your own communication with your team, or are you carving out some time to teach your team things? Are you, what are you doing to help other people progress in their careers?
Definitely, because that's what we are. We are kind of there to help them. Like I want someone to leave the boat and go, oh, like to go to the next boat and go, this is what I learned from this person, and this is like what I wanted. Like they're proud to go and teach someone else. Or if someone comes to the boat, like a new stewardess, they go, oh, this is how we do it here, and this is what I've learned. Can I show you how it's done?
Yeah.
So that they're almost like, really, like people love, like want the responsibility. So if you're not giving them that or getting them to learn anything new, then it's kind of just wasting your time and wasting their time, because they're just kind of getting through the day, and not really, like everyone wants to learn things. And it kind of gives them a reason to be like, to wake up and get excited. Well, that's what I'm like anyway.
I had a really good strategy when I was a chief stew, and I actually didn't have a second stew. I used to rotate them through, and I had to rotate through positions. I don't recommend doing that on a trip. So we would have like one trip where everyone would have a certain role, and then the next trip there'd be a different role. I'm not a mad fan of like that, because it does mean that you are jack of all trades and master of none, which means that the service is never going to be at a level as if you have just like a few people doing service or a few people doing housekeeping. Okay, but I understand that it makes it more interesting. It makes it more interesting boat to work on. But I have worked with people who do just want to do service or housekeeping, and they don't want to be rotated through those roles. But one of my strategies for being able to have accountability on board was appoint somebody as a head of housekeeping for that week, or head of service for that week, right? And then we had very specific checklists. So I developed very specific checklists for them, and go like at the end of so I would do service, and then I'd also, like in the mornings during breakfast service, I would go and help with the turn ups, and then I couldn't do the turn downs because I was doing the dinner service. But at the end of the turn downs, I would pass the service, because it'd be like dessert and drinks and all of that.
Yeah.
Pass it on to the, lead of service, and then I would go and check all the cabins, and the head of housekeeping that week would walk around with me, and then I would show them the kinds of things that I'm looking for. And the first day with a new person was always like, okay, we've missed this, we've missed this, we've missed this, we've missed this.
Yeah.
And then the next day that you do it, there's fewer things that are missed, and the next day there's fewer things. And it's interesting because to have somebody else accountable, and I'm like, at first they'll say, oh, but I didn't do this cabin. I'm like, oh, but it doesn't matter. You're the one who's meant to be checking it before I come check it.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter who did it. It's you're the one who's ultimately responsible, and that's what you also need to understand, because as the chief stew, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who did it. I'm responsible, right? So even though
I agree.
Even though stewardess A cleaned it, you were the one who's meant to be checking it. I'm the one who's meant to be checking you. At the end of the day, if the missus complains, she's not going to say, stewardess A didn't clean my room properly. She's going to be like, Sandra, why was my cabin not clean? So
yeah. Exactly.
That for me was something that really, really helped. So anyway, but thanks so much, Pauline, for joining me.
I hope I could get a few things that could help.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been very insightful. So yeah.